Hello, my beautiful blossoms, blooms, and buds, and welcome to my book garden. I'm Rosebud Reads, and I'm so excited to have you joining me as we read, as we start book 3 of Thousand Autumns. Also, happy almost Thanksgiving, everybody. So, this is a chill stream. That means that I will be talking to my lovely chat. I will be talking to myself. I will be talking to the book. If that's not really the flavor that you enjoy in audiobooks, I'm sorry. But maybe stick around. You might enjoy it. Hello, Mars Rover. Hi, Annika. How are you two doing? I hope you're doing well. But as I said, it's the first of book 3. So you know what that means. We have another one. But first, let's see how everybody's weekend has been. Good. I'm glad you're doing good, Mars Rover, and I'm glad that you are also doing well, Annika. And looking forward to a long week. I so get that. So I am doing good. My voice might be a little extra raspy because I am actually been working on some stuff for Christmas, like in over those days where I won't be able to be there. So I have some recordings of the fan fictions done. So I'm super excited about that. But what else did I do this weekend? I cleaned. I get to do some more cleaning tomorrow. But what else is new? Does anyone have some exciting Thanksgiving plans? Are people hosting? Are they going to people's houses? What's going on? Okay, hang on. Okay, there we go. Hello? Oh, there it is. Hi, Truffle! How are you doing? Anything exciting happen this weekend? Anything new? Anything old that's just exciting? Mystery of Chess Boxing. So that was fun. You said you were going to go see that. I'm glad that it was fun. You playing cribbage with my grandma all Thanksgiving Day, so that is exciting. So I agree. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm just hosting with my parents, and my brother and his wife and their kids are coming over. So it's going to be low key, but that doesn't mean we don't have to clean beforehand. So we already made pies today. Has one of the best final fights in any martial arts movie, in my opinion. Ooh. Might have to check it out then. Oh, that tea tastes good. One of the fanfics I recorded today was 4 hours. So my head kind of hurt after that one, along with my throat. Yep, holiday cleaning. Westminster Dog Show. That's a good one. Right? That'll be a treat. And that was one of the ones I thought was shorter. So I think the one that's like double that length is going to be split into 2 days because I can't do that again. Like, that was rough on the throat. But yeah, I'm actually the obscure dog breeds. My dog is the Maloyan or like Molinese. Like I think he's a Malinois, mixed with a black lab, because he's got like the face and like the weird traits of him. Here, let me show them. Here, let me show you guys what I mean. Yes, and at least I know now. I'm trying to do fairly by all the authors and do a nice job. Melanois. Yeah. Yeah, except the funny thing is, mine's so lazy. Like, this looks so much like my dog. Come on, Google, work with me. Google is being exceedingly slow. Okay. So this looks so much like my dog. Okay, so this is a Malinois, like a darker breed of Malinois. This is my dog. Let me see if I can find a good picture of his face, because usually he's laying down snuggled into blankets. This is the most accurate picture of my dog. Not really a great picture to show he has the Malinois thing. But it's definitely the most accurate. Yeah, that's his dramatic French girl pose. Oh, here we go. I was annoying him, so he's howling at me. I love to mess with him, because if I pretend like I don't see him, he gets very offended. And he'll be like, "You can so see me. Stop it." And then sometimes he'll howl, and I love it. And my mom's like, "Stop tormenting the dog." And yes, he is so cute and adorable. He's such a lazy boy, though. He's so lazy. Like, he will sleep all day. Yeah, he's my boy. Okay. I don't really have anything else to add. Other than like the fanfic thing, but like I decided I'd do it in wigs, and so that probably is not helping with the tiredness and eye strain. But it's been interesting. It's been a lot of fun. I've already knocked out 2 of them. I've one that is slightly less, and tomorrow I will break down the other one. I just heard back from someone today. I'll need to figure out how to do a podcast, or like rip the audio, because they want it to be a direct link, but I think I can figure it out. I think we'll see. I really want to do that story. It's such a good one, and it's not a big ask of the author. So I'll see if I can figure that out. It was a newfie who would only sit or lie down. Huh. That's kind of funny. Like, they're kind of goofy looking dogs. Okay. So last time I got... Nope, other side. I got this one. And then the time before that, I got this one. So which one am I aiming for this time? I kind of really like this one. It's really cute. But I would not... Like, I wouldn't be offended with any of these, but second choice right now, like in the order, is this one. New book, new box. That's right. All right, let's see which one we got. All right. Here we go. I'm not going to look at the card. Whoops. Oh, I never noticed that before. It's got it on the package like it's a little like mail package. to get in the mail. All right. Hey! 3 for 3! That's really cute. Right? This is the one where I kind of was like, I like all of them, so I just bought the box. I did buy it off AliExpress. Like, I know, but like, it's half price. Like, how can you not with half price? It's one of those you buy, Costco theory. You buy in bulk and it's just better. Right? The little roses are so cute. I really like the Emma quality between Emma and Rosalie. They make really good figures. Like they're really sturdy and they got a weight to them. Like they're hefty. Like they're very well made and they're like same price as most blind boxes. So like, hey. But yeah, this one's super cute. All right. You shall go right here. But by the way, do you guys like the new background? I holidayed it up a little bit. It's a little earlier than I usually do, but with filming some of the stuff for the holiday, I wanted it to be a little festive. So, just simple touches, a little festiveness. 'Tis the season, right? Might throw in a tree one of these days, but we'll see. We haven't gotten stuff down yet because we don't do until after Thanksgiving. This was kind of like a I'll allow it moment. Partially because like this is when I have time. My work actually they have different meetings, but I don't have to be at them these past 2 days. So I didn't go. So I had time to record some stuff. But yeah. I don't actually know how many of the fanfics are gonna happen. I might just do like 8 of them. We'll see. Because how many do I already have permission for? So I did that one. I need to mark off that one because I just finished recording it. Let's see. No, I get it. I'm kind of a Grinch till the first day of December. I get it. In all the senses. Like, this year I'll be visiting my sister, which started the fanfic thing, for Christmas. But usually it just kind of like, we figure it out, but it's definitely after Thanksgiving. So how many do I already have? 1, 2, 3. That one's going to be broken into 2. So kind of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I did get a yes with stipulations for the other one. So technically 10. So I might just do like a 12 days of fanfic. Well, we'll see. I have a whole other list of people who I've contacted, who I don't know if I'll hear back from, but might send out a couple more and just see maybe some shorter ones. So I'm not doing like 6 different 4-hour slots. But we'll see. It's a pretty good lineup. Now I just have to do it, right? I will try to do a lot of them with the wigs. It's like dressed down kind of holiday day-y vibes, but like not super in your face. Right right now I did like a little bit of the Mozuan Yu / Wei Wuxians for the Modao Zushi ones I've recorded. I'm kind of thinking I'll do the other one of that tomorrow and then switch to some Scum Villain ones. My new job plays Christmas music all day, and usually I'm a Christmas person, but if I hear All I Want for Christmas again, I'll explode. Oh, they already started? They let her out of the ice already, huh? Oh boy. I'm sorry, No Mars Rover. It's a little early. Okay. Let's start. I'll mark it down. When are we starting? Oh, wait, the fanfic. I was talking about fanfic all this time. What is our fanfic recommendation today? Let's see. For the Scum Villain recommendation, I picked Better Than One by Ihan. So it's another Shen Yuan transmigrates into a different character fic, with the twist to being exactly who it is. You might be very surprised, because I haven't seen anyone else do this. There are some spicy bits, so 18 plus warning on this one. The link is in the notes. But here's the summary. Transmigrating is very weird. One moment, Shen Yuan is cursing at his computer, angry typing about proud immortal demon ways, craptastic and underwhelming ending. The next moment, a meat bun got caught in his throat. Between fading out and fading back in, he'd acquired a passenger. Or maybe he was the passenger? It's complicated. A sliver of the original good soul tucked itself up neatly right under his own. A little sliver, too stubborn to release its hold on its current incarnation. A little sliver which held on to Shen Yuan's probably shabby soul in this exquisite body and refused to let go. So, you can go ahead and read that. Majestica's Christmas Carol album is really good. I'll keep that in mind. The Scum Villain recommendation is, or that was the Scum Villain. For the Modao Zushi recommendation, I picked Waiting on You by Smells Like Dean Spirit. It's interesting, though a bit heavy of a read, primarily from Jiang Cheng's point of view. It's not very festive, but very well written, and one I definitely recommend checking out if you're even a little interested. Summary. Wei Ying expected many things when he pictured his reunion with Jiang Cheng after being brought back to life. The last thing he expected, however, was for his brother to look at him with tearful eyes and immediately envelop him in a crushing hug. And yet, here he was, 13 years after his death, with Jiang Cheng's tears soaking into his shoulder. I'm sorry. After the siege of the burial mounds, Jiang Cheng stumbles across Wei Ying's diaries. Forced to relive the past through his brother's eyes, Jiang Cheng comes to the realization that not everything was as it seemed. Jiang Cheng snapped the book closed. He gripped the spine until his knuckles whitened. He stared back at the bookshelf that was filled end to end. He had to wonder if every single one of those contained similar talismans. He had to wonder if he was staring at the last years of his brother's life, all contained as snapshots within these very books. The thought was dizzying. There was too much horror trapped within the pages of those diaries for Jiang Cheng to comprehend. So the author does say, trigger warning for child abuse in this fic at points. I make Yu Ziyuan's treatment of Wei Ying way worse than it is in canon, not gonna lie. But yeah, I have two modes when I write angst or porn, and this one definitely is angst. So much angst. So keep that in mind. Not super cheerful, but yeah. I'll listen to it while doing my tree since my typical playlist has been ruined for me this year. Oh no, my Mars Rover, but yes. Oh, Smells Like Dean Spirit, yeah. But you won't regret the album. I think they'd have a great concept. Okay. Good. All right. But yeah, the Jing Cheng one's pretty heavy, but a good read. I can't always recommend the fluffy ones. Okay, we are starting at 2015. What chapter? Oh, I haven't shown the pictures. Okay. I am just messing things up today. So here's the cover. We'll zoom in on our boys a little bit. And of course, we have the Danmei horse. Thankfully, not the Danmei horse scene. If you know, you know. And then we have an expanded image. And then they are so pretty. Here's our faces. And a tiny sugar guy. This cover is so pretty. I almost forgot, speaking of so pretty, I got 2 things in the mail today. One, ta-da! It's so pretty. Some people were like raising a stink that this doesn't look like Shu Yang, but I'm like, that's a very Shu Yang smirk. Like, and this over here, this hurts. It's so pretty. And then, of course, I think that's Lai Bing and Bixia. Focus. Focus. And then the side image, Nai Huaisang at Qinghe. For a second, I was like, did they print it upside down? Ooh! Okay, I have to zoom in on this. Look at who's behind the screen! Ooh! And of course, our juniors. I love that they included our boy Ruyan Zaizen. I love it. He's got his bowl of soup. So cute. He's got his soup. Yeah, the picture, they repeat the picture on the back as well because it's fantastic. But then here's the front. So they have the Qinghe Nai. I also found out apparently there's a special edition of Little Mushroom 1 and 2 being released at my Asian bookstore nearby mid-month. So guess who's going to be spending even more money on Little Mushroom next month? It's so pretty. So pretty. Right? I literally was walking by and then this is what I saw. Literally, I was like, really? This was it. I was like, excuse me? They have the books already. They're literally in the window. And they're an exclusive one. Like, look at this. They're exclusives. Like, I was like, what is this shit? Ah! They know how to take my money. Ah! They know how to take my money. Yes. Kunye. Yeah. They are, Annika. Yeah, they come out the 16th. So guess where I'm going to be the 16th. The second one is I finally got my copy of Mistakenly Saving the Villain. This has been like set back time and time again to where I was like, am I ever going to get this book? Camping in front of the store. Probably. Just like, give me the mushroom. I give you the money. Give it. Boy. Okay. Let's see the exclusives. Let's start with the bookmark. All right. It's a good start already. Followed swiftly by a hard follow-up. I think he's pulling on his hair, which, hey. Yeah, he is. I see his hands reaching through. Oh, we actually got a sticker page this time. Yay! Sticker page. You're so cute. I'm going to zoom in. So I actually have read this one, at least a good chunk of it, when it was hard translated. So it's an interesting story. It's definitely got some twists and turns to it. If I remember correctly, it's a little yandere-y, which is definitely a flavor I enjoy. I got book 6 of Case File Compendium. I'm so glad no one saw the front cover. Oh, this is for all the Hwa-Chong girlies. Gotta have our cover. Actually, I'll turn it sideways. If anyone's read Skip Beat, this definitely gives me Ren vibes. Sugarama-san. All right, I'm going to do this one sideways, just so you can see all of it. Ah, the book's gone! It's pretty. Oh, you were checking out Skip Beat at the library? It's a great series. Absolutely fantastic. I love Hyoko. She is a riot. one of those classics. Okay. Now I think we can get started. Right at the 30 minutes mark. Okay. Put the knife away so I don't cut myself again. My finger is finally healed. Oh, case file compendium. You have checked out Skip Beat from the library. It's a good choice. Both of them. Okay. Starting at 30:30. One second. Okay. All right. So who remembers what happened last time? We were at Bixia Sect. On Discord, you hear it beeping. My drunk sister is saying hi. I just told her I'm live streaming, so you will hear significantly less beeping. I think. So last time we heard the plot about Yan Wushi potentially being in trouble, and how the sects are, well, not even the sects, but a lot of different high-powered people were gathering together to go fight him and take him down, and how this was not a good thing according to Shen Qiao, even though he has personal grievances, because he's currently keeping kind of the status quo in the nation. Hi to your drunk sister. Thank you. I will tell her later. But yeah. So that's kind of where we were before. We left Shiwu at Bixia Sect because it's going to be dangerous. But he is now our official disciple. Very happily. He's probably not going to wake up happy once he realizes that we're gone from the sect, but that is how it is. So now we start chapter 53. Which I will write down it is 53. All right. 53. Meeting by wrong again. Through the red hills I meander. Around the sand dunes I wind. Frigid ice steeps into my flesh. The wind's chill throbs through my bones. This is from a Song of the White Horse by Shen Qiao. Thank you, Truffle. By the time Shen Qiao re-entered Chang'an, his state of mind had changed. He entered the city alone. He was carrying a sword and dressed in Taoist garb, but with his sickly appearance, his poor eyesight, and how slowly he walked, he bore little resemblance to a martial artist from the Jianghu. Instead, he looked merely like a wandering Taoist priest who was only carrying a sword out of fear for the chaos of the times. Nothing about him seemed threatening in the least. Chang'an was bustling with officials, people streaming through the streets like rivers, just like it had always been every time he visited. But this time, it felt even livelier than before. With some asking around, he learned that most of these people were preparing to head to Tu Yunhun's capital to attend the Coiling Dragon Assembly on the 9th of September. All because some busybody had spread news that a scroll of the Shuyang strategy would appear this year, and the Tai sword, a treasure that had been buried with the first emperor of Qin, and later unearthed by the tyrant of Western Shu, would also be present. The chapter title should really be titled Off to Save the Ingrate. Yep, I agree, Truffle. Everyone already knew that Northern Shou, Tiantai Sect, and Xuandu Mountain each held a volume of the Shuyang strategy. They had already been claimed. Still, there were always more people trying to get their hands on them, though to this day no one had managed to plunder those volumes from the factions that safeguarded them. It was clear that such a feat must be enormously difficult, so much so that even the average martial expert couldn't pull it off. The scroll at Tiantai Sect, for example, even if they tried to steal it, grandmasters like Yan Wushi and Ruyan Qihuai might find themselves unable to leave unscathed, never mind anyone with lesser skills. The 2 remaining volumes had been scattered to the wind, their whereabouts unknown. The Liu He Guild had managed to obtain one and wanted to transport it south with some other cargo, but Yan Wushi ruined things along the way. The scroll had been destroyed, gone from the world forevermore. If a Zhuyang strategy scroll really did appear at the Coiling Dragon Assembly, then it must be the last volume that remained adrift and unclaimed. Obtaining this scroll would be much simpler than hunting down the ones from Tiantai Sect or Xuandu Mountain, never mind taking on the martial artists within the inner palace of Northern Shou. Everyone in the Jianghu would covet it. Wealth might move most people's hearts, but to those from the Jianghu, all the gold and silver in the world couldn't compare to the temptation of peerless martial prowess. Chief Ingwei had once been able to freely roam the Jianghu because of his status as the strongest in the land, and all had to quell beneath his every breath. What awe-inspiring might! Wasn't that how a true man should be? As for the Tai Yi sword, it had once been the priceless national treasure of Chu, and was later obtained by the Emperor of Qin. The sword had also been regarded as a symbol of benevolent rule, so although it was an outstanding blade in its own right, its significance went far beyond that of a mere weapon. Legend said that those who held this sword would rule the world. It was equivalent in meaning to the Qin dynasty's famous heirloom seal of the realm, which was the fabled imperial seal from the Qin dynasty. So both Southern Chen and Northern Shou were paying close attention to this year's Coiling Dragon Assembly. They'd even sent men to monitor the situation. Regardless of their objectives, one thing was certain. There were quite a few people on the same journey as Shen Qiao. There wasn't a vacancy to be found in any of the city's inns. Seeing this, Shen Qiao decided to hurry along his way and rest in a town outside the city instead. To his surprise, however, notable men from all over the land were everywhere. Not only did he see practitioners from the many major sects, but even the ordinary, little-known sects had all sent dispatches. Some of them were here to watch the bustle and broaden their knowledge, while others wanted to see if they could profit off the commotion. As Shen Qiao walked onward and the curtain of night fell, even the small towns outside Chang'an seemed to be packed full of travelers. He went to inn after inn, and each one told him that even the woodsheds were occupied, leaving him at a loss. With his poor eyesight, though, he could make out some vague approximations by the light of day, but the moment night arrived, he couldn't see a thing. This made camping in the wilderness difficult. How unexpected that the long journey from Mount Tai to Chang'an had gone so smoothly, and it was only once he reached a large city like Chang'an that he was plagued with troubles. Apologies to the Taoist master. We're currently completely booked. We even have guests sleeping in the woodshed. We truly cannot make more room for your esteemed self. The inn's concierge wrung his hands, a pained smile on his face. Shen Qiao was just about to ask again when a sweet voice came from beside him. This one has already reserved a main room. It's quite spacious enough. If the Taoist master doesn't mind, he can share a bed with me. The interior of the inn was jostling with people. Those who were close to him raised their heads to see a gorgeous beauty gazing flirtatiously at a sickly priest, and were instantly displeased. Someone mockingly said, "If the young maiden is feeling lonely, she should at least find a stronger man. That priest looks like he'd be blown over by a stiff breeze. Are you sure he'll be able to manage?" At those words, a smattering of laughter rose from beside them. The beauty smiled sweetly. "But this one likes handsome priests like this Taoist master, and not perverted, rotten men." She had barely finished talking when the man who'd been mocking them cried out. He grabbed his head, too shocked to speak. Half of his hair had suddenly gone missing. The beauty laughed. "This one is in a good mood today, having encountered an old friend. I'd rather not see any bloodshed. You lot should really try to behave yourselves. Otherwise, if my old friend ignores me for this, you'll be in big trouble." While this conversation was unfolding, Shen Qiao had already left the inn without looking back. "Who the hell are you?" shouted the man who had lost half his hair, full of false bravado. But the beauty had no interest in bothering with them any longer. She vanished with a flash, leaving only behind a fragrant aroma where she'd once stood. "This one is Little Peony. Is it not a lovely name?" Her voice still lingered in their ears. Everyone looked at each other appalled. "Yuan sex by wrong? Why has that demoness come here?" Leaving the inn, Bai Rong saw that the man ahead of her had already become a silhouette in the distance. She gritted her teeth despite herself and chased after him with her qinggong. "Shen Qiao, you stay right there," she yelled. Perhaps he'd heard her because that silhouette finally stopped moving. Bai Rong does not mess around. Nope. She goes straight for the honor. Perhaps he'd heard her because that silhouette finally stopped moving. Shen Qiao turned around and sighed quietly. "What advice do you have for me?" Bai Rong had grown up in Yihuan Sect, where she had seen the deepest treacheries of the human heart, the vilest faces of human beings. She believed she had turned her heart into stone a long time ago, that nothing could move her any more. But at this moment, faced with Shen Qiao's grudging and reluctant expression, a strong burst of indignation surged through her heart. "Taoist Master Shen is so callous in his relationships," she spat. "The day you were hiding in Bailong Monastery, we searched for you on my master's orders. If I hadn't brought you time then, you wouldn't be standing here today. Is this how you repay others for their kindness?" When Shen Qiao didn't respond, she couldn't help but give an icy laugh. "Or does Taoist Master Shen blame me for the deaths of those two priests? Back then, one of our elders was right there, and Xiao Shi was even more hostile, ready to jump on any mistake I made. Did you want me to implicate myself for two strangers I've never met before?" Shen Qiao shook his head. "I indeed must thank you for what happened that day. But it's also true that Xu Xiang and Chu Yi died, and that was an evil committed by Yihuan Sect. All grudges have their sources and debts their debtors. I'll have them repay it sooner or later. What has already happened cannot be undone. It's meaningless to mire ourselves in who was right and wrong." Bai Rong bit her lip and remained quiet for a moment. "I heard that you destroyed all your martial arts in the hope of taking my master down with you," she said, "and that you were gravely injured by him and almost lost your life. Are you really all right now?" "I'm well," said Shen Qiao. "Thank you for your concern." "Shizun also suffered grievous injuries," said Bai Rong. "He's afraid that Yuan Shushu will take the chance to finish him off, so he's hidden himself somewhere to cultivate. No one knows where he is." "Not even you?" Bai Rong gave a wan smile. "What? Did you think he really trusted me?" Shen Qiao knew there was a good chance she was affecting this expression to win his sympathy, but he truly couldn't bring himself to castigate her. "I know you want to take revenge on Shizun," said Bai Rong softly. "However, even if I did know where he was, I couldn't let you go to your death like that. Right now, you are not his match at all. Shen Qiao nodded. Thank you for telling me. However, I have no plans to look for him at the moment. Then who are you looking for? Said Bairong. Are you going to attend the Coiling Dragon Assembly in Tu Hun's royal capital? You wish to save Yan Wushi? She'd always been enormously intelligent. Naturally, she'd already guessed what Shen Qiao had come from. Come for. Ay, guy. When Shen Qiao didn't answer, Bairong's sighed. Shen Lang, do you know what you're doing? True, Yan Wushi might have attained the pinnacle of martial arts. Few people in the world can take him on. But a joint assault from 5 of the land's most powerful martial artists. Even if he were a god from Dalu's immortal realm, he would have no chance of surviving. And remember what he did to you. How can you just put that behind you? Even a cat or dog would keep their distance from someone who hurt them over and over, wouldn't they? Do your feelings for him truly run that deep? Shen Qiao frowned. Am I only allowed to save him out of personal feelings? Then why must you risk your life for him if you don't feel anything? Pressed Bairong. No matter how strong you are, you can't win if it's 1 against 5. It's not just you. Yan Wushi can't. My Shizun can't, and even if Chief Gui were revived, he couldn't. The Coiling Dragon Assembly is on the 9th of September, but the ambush is on the 8th. Today is already the 5th. Even if you rush there now, you won't make it in time. Shen Qiao was silent. When she saw this, even the unflagging smile on Bairong's face took on a touch of anger. Don't you get it? She begged. I don't want to see you throw away your life. Bairong had feelings for him. Shen Qiao wasn't made of wood. Naturally, he knew. Bairong was the type to care only for her own interests. She would never risk her life or betray her sect simply because she loved Shen Qiao. She wouldn't even disobey her master or elders for his sake. The most she'd do was extend Shen Qiao some slight conveniences, lift a finger or two as long as it didn't hurt her interests. This much was already remarkable for her. But she didn't understand Shen Qiao, and Shen Qiao had no inclination to explain any further. He didn't want Bairong to misunderstand. It was best for her if he drew a clear line between them right here and now. Thank you for your advice, but I still must go. He stared at Bairong. In the eyes of outsiders, Hihuan's sect is ruthless and treacherous, consuming even the bones of those they destroy. But you take to it like fish to water. So in the end, a demoness like me is only worth your disdain? Shen Qiao shook his head. You've misunderstood. All I mean is that I know you'd never be content to stay an ordinary disciple in Hihuan's sect. I have no right to demand anything of you, but I hope that you'll take good care of yourself and avoid becoming someone like Huo Shijing or Song Jingsing. You're different from them. You're different from them. Bairong's eyes prickled at those simple words, but she showed no trace of it, smiling sweetly instead. Then you should come see me from time to time. Supervise me to make sure I don't end up like them. I'm sorry, was all Shen Qiao said, and he turned right around and left. Bairong stomped her foot. Shen Qiao! But with the rainbow stretches across the heavens, Shen Qiao was already like a distant swan, with nary a trace of dust left in his wake. In the blink of an eye, he was already dozens of yards away, the wide sleeves of his Taoist robe fluttering as he glided further and further, never looking back. The 8th of September, Fuqi, the royal capital of Tu. Throughout the year, the western region saw more wind-blown sands than rain, but this year had been somewhat unusual. There was a continuous drizzle since the beginning of autumn. Even the buildings of the royal capital, normally caked in dust year-round, now looked refreshed beyond recognition. With the influence of the culture of the Central Plains, the nobles and royals of Tuyuhu all spoke and wrote using Han characters, and even the Han style of dress was widely adopted. Furthermore, as the Coiling Dragon Assembly drew near, it brought many people from the Central Plains to the city. At first glance, it was almost like being back in Chang'an. Outside the city was a pavilion, meant as shelter from the rain. It was called Yin Yang Pavilion. No one knew when it had been constructed, but with mountains on the left and waters on the right, and the pavilion directly in the middle, it was exactly like a boundary between the yin and the yang. The pavilion was in the style of the Central Plains. Only in the corners of the eaves could one find a hint of more exotic aesthetic. With the passing of so many years, even the words yin-yang pavilion had mostly peeled off, revealing the wood's original texture and color beneath the fading black paint. Yan Wushi stood at the center of the pavilion, his hands clasped behind him. It was unclear how long he'd been standing there. He gazed out of the pavilion, his posture languid and carefree. He seemed to be watching the rain, but also like he was waiting for someone. In the distance, a single man emerged from the wet trees and brush. The man wore a black monk's robe, and his head was completely smooth and bare. Though his face was extraordinarily handsome, faint lines showed at the corners of his eyes. With an umbrella in hand, he walked towards Yan Wushi at a sedate pace. Amitabha, has sect leader Yan been well? He spoke casually, as if he were having an everyday conversation, but his voice rang crisp and clear across the landscape, unwaning despite the distance. You haven't grown a single hair since we parted at Chuyun Temple, Yan Wushi said coolly. Truly, your days must be full of troubles and worries, a vexing and unhappy life. Is the contented life of an ordinary monk that difficult for you? Buddhist Master Shu Ting forced a smile at Yan Wushi's cutting sarcasm. Sect leader Yan's words are as unforgiving as always. The one who invited me was Duan Wen Yang, so why have you appeared instead? Unless the great and mighty former state preceptor of Shou has abandoned himself to the point of colluding with the Gok Turks. Sect leader Yan's reappearance in the Jianghu has stirred up a storm of violence and bloodshed, said Buddhist Master Shu Ting. You've disturbed all peace. In this humble monk's opinion, you should find a place to direct your energies toward meditating on your martial arts, lest more murder and evil arise from your hands. Oh. Yan Wushi burst into noisy laughter. I've always hated how you do nothing but spew Buddhist doctrines, you bald monkey. But today, you've smartened up. You've dropped all the nonsense and cut straight to the chase. Good. Buddhist Master Shu Ting lowered his head in lashes. Buddha urges us towards kindness, to drop our cleavers and seek enlightenment. But for those who refuse to repent despite repeated teachings, he can also demonstrate the thunderous might of Vajrapani. There we go. What use is there in preaching the truths of Buddhism to someone like sect leader Yan? We can only subdue you with force and stop a killer by killing you ourselves. Let me guess, the reason you agreed to ambush me together with Duan Wen Yang, said Yan Wushi. Yuan Yang refuses to elevate Buddhism, so you sent men to infiltrate the Gok Turks, day after day. Eventually, even Taspar Kagan converted to Buddhism, but the Gok Turks have the dispositions of wolves and tigers, fierce and ruthless. The influence of Buddhism remained limited, and your only option was to return your attention to Northern Shou. Yuan Yang is incredibly wary of Buddhism. Even if you destroyed Huan Yue sect, he'd never re-elevate Buddhism. So your best bet was to kill me first, then kill Yuan Yang, then have the Crown Prince Yuan Yun ascend, and finally you'd pledge allegiance to him. Yuan Yun is different from his father. He's very fond of Buddhism. The years you spent constantly appealing to him weren't in vain. The moment he comes to power, Buddhism will once again regain its former glory in Northern Shou. Buddhist Master Shu Ting invoked one of Buddha's names. Yuan Yang revels in war and slaughter, he said. He exploits the people and squanders wealth. Pot kettle, may I just say? He's not an enlightened ruler in the slightest. His war on Qi this time has taxed the entire country even further. It's only a matter of time before the masses collapse beneath the strain. So, you're saying that you believe the Crown Prince Yuan Yun to be the true enlightened ruler instead? Said Yan Wushi, deeply amused. Buddhist Master Shu Ting replied simply, the Crown Prince both deeply reveres and understands Buddhism. It is his destiny to become a Buddha. A smile slowly spread over Yan Wushi's face. To think you could lie through your teeth when Yuan Yang is like that. Amazing! You just want to kill me, right? Well then, bring it on. Where's Duan Wenying? Tell him to get over here. As his words fell, a bright laugh pierced through the air. How egotistical of sect leader Yan. Has he never thought that today might become the day he dies? All these laughs are killing my throat. Hang on, I can hear myself getting stuffy. All right, chapter 54. 56:45. Okay. Chapter 54. Yan Wushi's death. Bald old donkey, sneered Yan Wushi. You've been praised as one of the world's 3 best martial artists, yet you have to rope in Duan Wenyang to kill me? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Buddhist Master Shu Ting's expression remained indifferent. As long as sect leader Yan dies today, my reputation is of little importance. You're too superficial, sect leader Yan. Yan Wushi burst out laughing. If you had to find a helper from the Gok Turks, why didn't you just summon Hulagu's ghost here instead? What can a sad little Duan Wenyang do to my venerable self? Sect leader Yan really shouldn't boast too much, Duan Wenyang warned him. Otherwise, if you end up losing your life here today, you'll be left with no face even in the underworld. Speaking didn't hinder his attacks in the slightest. In the blink of an eye, the silhouettes of his whip were already blotting out the sky as they descended, sealing off all of Yan Wushi's escape routes from above. Duan Wenyang's first whip had long since been destroyed during his fights against Li Qingyu and Shen Qiao. The one he held now was newly made, named Shishang Ruan Hong, which literally is 30 yards of gentle red. Here the red refers to the secular world. Huh, interesting. No less time had been spent on the crafting of this whip than on the first, and perhaps it was even more durable. With a slight flick of Duan Wenyang's wrist, its shape flowed and transformed, giving rise to thousands of mirages, enough to dazzle the eye and leave onlookers confounded. It was obvious. His strength had grown immensely since his duels with Li Qingyu and Shen Qiao at the Su residence. No matter who it was, as long as they weren't mediocre, no one was content to be ordinary. They would strive to continually improve themselves. This might be true for oneself, but it would hold true for one's enemies as well. Duan Wenyang's whip techniques were the uncanny and unpredictable type, and the saber techniques of the western regions had been woven in as well. These two sets of techniques combined into a raging sandstorm, boundless and never-ending, engulfing its opponent from the front and suffocating them in despair until they lost all will to fight. But his opponent was Yan Wushi. Yan Wushi was unarmed. However, his fingers became as a sword before the two great martial artists of this generation, and under the command of his true chi, the petals and leaves fluttered around them, transformed into thousands of razor-sharp knives, obliterating every single one of Duan Wenyang's attacks. Buddhist master Shu Ting was a man of little expression. He appeared even godlier than the Buddha statues within the temples, devoid of joy or anger and completely unmoved by the outside world. At this moment, even as he saw Duan Wenyang thwarted, he expressed neither surprise nor fury. Instead, he pushed his palms out evenly away from him. As his true chi condensed, those 10 fingers, already exceptionally pale, seemed to faintly glow with the brilliance of colored glaze. Shu Ting's face, too, seemed to tint with the slight shimmer of moonlight, as beautiful as a jade carving. His Akala scales totaled 6. Akala scales? Akala scales totaled 6. Just before, he struck with 3 of them, one after another, yet they were ineffective on Yan Wushi. Hang on, I'm going to look that up because I think I know what that is, but I also don't know if I'm saying it right. You keep falling behind? I'll reset it. Hang on. While I'm looking this up, I'll reset it. Is that better? Ta-da! Better? Truffle? Yeah, no worries. Image. I think literally it's just... maybe if I do it with Buddhism. No, I had to reset a couple times when I was doing the thing. I think it's just literally a weight. Like an Akala scale. I think it's just a fancy scale. But hopefully the stream's better. His Akala scales totaled 6. Just before, he'd struck with 3 of them, one after another, yet they were ineffective on Yan Wushi. Now he was using the 4th and 5th gestures, immovable as a mountain and plucking a flower, a tacit smile. The former was a defensive move in place of an attack. The latter focused on countering strength with softness. Within his hands, the complicated, ever-changing strikes became extraordinarily beautiful and pleasing to the eye, enough to make one drop their guard unconsciously. When he sent out the immovable as a mountain seal, a buzzing whine sounded in everyone's ears, and their minds blanked momentarily. Even the whip in Duan Wenyang's hands unknowingly stilled for an instant. Yan Wushi, however, remained completely unaffected and even gave a cold laugh. Ignoring Shu Ting's mudra, its pose like plucking a flower as it swept towards him from behind, he reached out for Duan Wenyang's whip as before. His hand passed through the thickly woven mesh of after-images like it was nothing, and actually caught the whip bare-handed. Then, with a yank and a twist, he turned around, redirecting the force and sending every ounce of Duan Wenyang's true qi towards Buddhist master Shu Ting. Shu Ting pushed off the ground with the tap of his foot, and his body instantly drifted several yards back. Despite fighting 2 against 1, Yan Wushi didn't retreat and actually chased after him, and as they came face to face, their palms met. A strong force against a strong force. The true qi from 2 martial artist grandmasters came into inevitable confrontation with a devastating conclusion. A split second later came a roaring explosion, and a vortex swept up around the 2 combatants, one that hungered to swallow all of creation within it. Duan Wenyang only felt a powerful turbulence engulf him from the front, and he was forced to withdraw his whip and retreat 5 or 6 steps back. Only then did he escape its terrifying impact. But neither of the 2 people within moved a single step. The fallen leaves beneath their feet were pulled into the air by their true qi and left dancing in the wind. Shu Ting gazed at Yan Wushi expressionless, when suddenly a powerful truth swelled up within his heart. If he couldn't kill this man today, he'd probably never have the chance again. As a grandmaster, Shu Ting naturally had a grandmaster's pride. If possible, he'd of course prefer a fair and honorable one-on-one duel with Yan Wushi, but upon him weighed a heavy duty, the renewal of Buddhism, and Yan Wushi was his greatest obstacle. Only with Yan Wushi gone could Buddhism return to its previous standing within Northern Sho. He absolutely could not lose this battle. Yan Wushi suddenly smiled at him. It was an inexplicable and uncanny smile, and Shu Ting couldn't help but furrow his brow. The next moment, instead of continuing to engage him, Yan Wushi turned right around and dove at Duan Wenyang. At this time, Duan Wenyang's Shi Shang Ruan Hong was held high above him as he brought it down towards Yan Wushi's head. The whip's momentum was like 1,000-ton weight, and suffused with Duan Wenyang's true qi, it became an arc of white light. But he hadn't expected that Yan Wushi would suddenly drop Buddhist master Shu Ting and walk towards him instead. He really did walk. His steps were as calm and unhurried as if he were taking an idle stroll. But within a few short steps, he'd already moved from next to Buddhist master Shu Ting to where Duan Wenyang stood. Then he reached out, grabbing the white arc directly. So I think this is a picture that is a little ahead of time, because they're still just fighting 2-on-2. So we haven't quite gotten here yet, but spoilers, this is what's about to happen. I find it interesting that they put this here instead of on the next page. He does look super badass. He is a badass. He doesn't just look badass. He is a badass. And he knows it. It was a bizarre movement. It looked slow, but he grasped the whip's body with precise accuracy. And just like that, Shi Shang Ruan Hong, he does look very good when he's angry. He looks very good when he's being an asshole too, but like he's awesome. They're counteracts each other with the whole assholery bit. I agree. Duan Wenyang's expression shifted. Before he could react, the other man's fingers clamped down, and the whip that Duan Wenyang had spent so much painstaking effort to create was crushed to fragments within his grasp. Did your Shifu never teach you that all weapons will amount to nothing before a true expert? A savage smile hung at the corner of Yan Wushi's lips. As he spoke, his hand was already sliding down the crushed whip towards Duan Wenyang's arm. That hand would have been able to grab a normal person, but Duan Wenyang was no ordinary man. He didn't waste any time mourning his whip. The moment it was destroyed, he'd already released it, and he struck at Yan Wushi's chest with his other hand. At the same time, Buddhist Master Shu Ting's attack had also arrived. His Akala scale was already approaching the center of Yan Wushi's back. He'd begun after Duanwen Yang, yet somehow he was even faster. Ow, I feel a little bad for that guy. He's lost 2 weapons already. He's cocky, and he's showing he can't back it up. So, like, he keeps underestimating people. Like, that's what you get when you underestimate ridiculously powerful people. You lose your shit. Sometimes metaphorically, sometimes, in this case, physically and literally. Sucks to suck, right, Annika? Yan Wushi didn't move his feet, but his body vanished into thin air right before Duanwen Yang. But Duanwen Yang knew this was only a misdirection. It was impossible for a person to disappear without a trace in such a short amount of time, so he didn't slow his attack in the slightest. Yet, still, his palm actually missed. Grandmaster of FAFO. Right. Oh. How could there be a Qinggong of such incredible speed? Duanwen Yang was in complete disbelief. On the other hand, Yan Wushi and Shu Ting's palms met a second time. The force behind this clash was even stronger. The trees nearby shuddered with the force of their true qi, cracks snaking up their trunks at a speed visible to the naked eye. This time, both Yan Wushi and Buddhist Master Shu Ting fell back 3 steps. Is this man a monster? Was a thought that flashed through Duanwen Yang's mind as he witnessed Yan Wushi's skills firsthand. Yes. Yes, he is. He's a monster that you poked. You decided to annoy said monster. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? He'd always boasted of himself as being supremely talented, that even his master Hulagu couldn't have been better than him at the same age, but after encountering the almost inhuman entity known as Yan Wushi, he'd been beset with continuous setbacks. Back then, when he'd heard of the wretched picture his Shidi Kunye had made as Yan Wushi chased him around, he'd even laughed at Kunye's incompetence. Looking at himself now, it seemed he wasn't faring much better. He was even working together with a top-class grandmaster like Shu Ting, one of the top 3 in the world. They still couldn't kill one single Yan Wushi? The technique he just used was body to shadow, phase, and replace. This voice rang within Duanwen Yang's ears. The speaker had sent the sound directly to him so that only he could hear, but it wasn't an unfamiliar voice. When one achieves ultimate mastery over it, even a horizon-spanning distance will appear to be little more than a few feet. He may seem to be very close to you, but in reality, he never approached you at all. His focus has always been on that monk shooting over there. Don't let him confuse you. The voice had just finished when a sword suddenly materialized to the left of Yan Wushi, and together with that sword came a few sporadic notes from a zither. Purple sword glares fell like a shroud, their light flooding everywhere in perfect harmony with the zither. Using the zither's notes as a medium, the player tore right through the dense armor of true qi Yan Wushi had constructed, taking advantage of Yan Wushi's focus on fighting Shu Ting. This attack was sourced from the same branch of demonic arts as Yan Wushi's, and thanks to the commonality, it found a tiny crack within his defenses. The instant that crack was revealed, the piercing sword glares arrived, directly targeting Yan Wushi. The Feilong scriptures have a flaw. The stronger one grows, the more devastating this flaw becomes. Yan Wushi has reached the 9th stage, and because of this flaw, he's unable to progress any further to achieve the highest echelon of true perfection. If we wish to kill him, now is the time. It was Guang Ling San's voice, bright and clear, but his actual person was nowhere to be found. Perhaps he'd arrived a long while ago and remained in hiding this entire time, waiting for the right moment to maximize the confounding effect of his zither. Out of all present at the scene, the one most qualified to remark on Yan Wushi's martial arts could only be another practitioner of the demonic discipline, and the Fajing sect leader. Indeed, the purple sword glare surged forth with unstoppable momentum and pierced right through Yan Wushi's clothes. His back was instantly dyed with a bloom of crimson. Yan Wushi snorted a laugh. Huh. Bunch of trash. My venerable self has no interest in playing with you lot anymore. With that, he turned and sent a strike at Yuai's Junzi Bushi. Its sword glare wavered a little, but continued its rush towards him. The zither's melody suddenly transformed, escalating from sedate to frenziedly impassioned. Guang Ling San yelled, "The flaw in his demonic core has appeared!" Before he even finished his words, someone appeared close by and sent a swift gust from his palm at Yan Wushi. Meanwhile, Shu Ting's hands came together to form the last seal, his hands twisting and turning. This was the final form of his Akala seals, the crimson lotus of fiery retribution. The flames of retribution came forth in the shape of crimson lotuses, as vast as the sea or the sky, boundless and unending. They surged like raging tides, blazing intensely, incinerating away all the world's delusions. A small crack finally appeared in Yan Wushi's true qi, so dense and perfect in its construction. The flames of retribution licked inside, wave upon wave. They forced the crack to expand, then finally ripped it open completely, went straight for his demonic core, and tore it out, roots and all. The next moment, 5 slender, pale fingers slammed hard into Yan Wushi's chest. A small trickle of blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. But with this, his expression too became vicious. His sleeve flapped towards Buddhist Master Shu Ting, sending along a powerful blast of internal energy and forcing him to evade its edge. Buddhist Master Shu Ting swept half a step back. That half a step was enough. Yan Wushi turned around and grabbed the blade stabbed into his body in a bare-handed grip, then gave it a forceful twist. And just as he'd crushed Duan Wenyang's whip before, Junzi Buqi's blade actually shattered into pieces. Then he crooked his fingers and went straight for Yuai's face. The two of them exchanged dozens of blows in an instant, and right at that moment, Do Yanshan struck forth with another palm, striking it right into the unguarded spot in the center of Yan Wushi's back. Dang, right? Right? Success. Do Yunshan hadn't dared to get his hopes up, and so he was delighted by this unexpected turn of events. He put all his strength into the strike, and Yan Wushi had taken it straight on. It was impossible for him to endure unscathed. With these 2 strikes from Buddhist Master Shu Ting and Do Yanshan, the pressure on Duan Wenyang and Yuai was greatly reduced. Though Guan Lingshan San hadn't shown himself at all, the contribution of his zither music wasn't insignificant. He was the one who discovered the flaw left behind by Yan Wushi's qi deviation through his duel with Ruyan Qihuai, and taking advantage of it, they struck right at the root. Noticing Buddhist Master Shu Ting's lack of follow-up, instead he stood at the side watching. Do Yanshan also stayed his hand and asked, "Why did the great master stop?" Though Yan Wushi and I stand on opposing sides, there is no personal grudge between us. We had no choice but to conduct this ambush, but regardless, an opponent like him deserves to be respected. He doesn't deserve to die here. Not like this. Do Yanshan sneered internally. If you are truly virtuous, then why participate in this ambush? But he didn't express his feelings, only smiled. The great master is truly a man of noble character. As if he could see into his thoughts, Buddhist Master Shu Ting said coolly, "Guildmaster Do should know this. Even if Yan Wushi dies, the Shu Yang strategy scroll he destroyed will not return." Huo Yanshan gave a chuckle. Yan Wushi alone has set the entire world astir. If he dies, everyone will be at peace, and Buddhism can flourish. Must congratulate you, great master. As the two of them spoke, Yan Wushi was struck by another palm. He needed to leave, but with his weakness revealed, the zither's notes were now clouding his mind. Combined with the internal injuries he'd accumulated, caused by the two palm strikes from before and the way Yui and Duan Wenyang continued to press their attacks, his defensive true chi had finally collapsed completely. Then, two more blows struck him. Of course, Yui and Duan Wenyang weren't doing much better either. Yui's sword was broken, and he'd taken 3 strikes to the chest. His face was ghastly pale as he stumbled back several steps, then finally fell to the ground. Duan Wenyang's whip had been destroyed, and he was suffering from internal injuries. Several of his ribs were broken, and he coughed up many mouthfuls of blood. And yet, under these circumstances, Yan Wushi still had the strength to escape, and his body became a blur of afterimages. Both Duo Yanshan's and Guang Lingshan's faces twisted in alarm, but it was already too late for them to stop him. At that moment, Shu Ting vanished from where he was standing. Pushing his qinggong to the utmost, he blocked Yan Wushi directly. The power of Akala scales forced Yan Wushi to take the attack head-on, and with this, he lost his last chance to escape. However, this time Shu Ting fell back more than 5 steps, and his face instantly went bright red, then changed swiftly to ghastly white. He'd forced himself to swallow down the blood bubbling up in his mouth. Yan Wushi burst into laughter. But then that laughter ceased abruptly, and he hacked up a large mouthful of fresh blood. And Duo Yanshan flung himself at him, striking a palm right against the Bai Huai acupoint on the crown of Yan Wushi's head. With this strike, Yan Wushi finally toppled to the ground, unmoving. Buddhist Master Shu Ting furrowed his brows, but in the end said nothing. He watched as Yan Wushi's eyes slowly slid closed, then quietly chanted one of Buddha's names. Putting his hands together, he bowed in the fallen man's direction, then simply turned and left without another glance. Yui and Duan Wenyang were both seriously injured. Seeing that Yan Wushi had no hope of surviving, they left one after the other to treat their wounds. Duo Yanshan crouched to examine the body carefully. After confirming that there was no breath, he finally revealed a smile and turned to Guan Lingsan as he walked out holding his zither. Congratulations, sect leader Guang. The day you unify the 3 sects is just around the corner. Thank you for your kind words, guild leader Duo. Are you certain that Yan Wushi is dead? Of course. I shattered his skull with that blow. Plus, all his internal organs are ruptured and bleeding from those strikes earlier. His life has ended. There's no way he can survive. Guan Lingshan smiled. The demonic discipline has a technique called from the heavens above to the earths below, he said. Right before the practitioner's life is about to end, they destroy their body and enter a state of false death while preserving a small chance of survival for themselves. The only issue is that learning this technique is terribly painful, and normally it has limited usefulness. Hence, few people try to learn it. The sect leader Guang worried that Yan Wushi has also learned this technique, asked Duo Yanshan. Since we've already gone this far, it's better if we take the time to thoroughly confirm things. There's no harm in being certain. He walked towards Yan Wushi and reached for his wrist. A sheathed sword appeared, held lengthwise, before him. This sword was plain to the point of being crude. There was nothing extraordinary about it, save for the 4 characters engraved next to the hilt. Shan He Tong Bei. Guang Lingshan's expression flickered. He didn't even know when the other party had appeared. He may have made many enemies everywhere while he was alive, their numbers uncountable, but he was still a Grand Master of his generation, said the new arrival. The dead are to be revered above all. isn't it rather inappropriate to be doing this to an opponent who deserves your respect? Duo Yan Shan narrowed his eyes and ground out the newcomer's name, syllable by syllable. Shen Qiao. That was funny. Shen Qiao. We'll just say it like that, otherwise it sounds like he got hit. Haha, Shen Qiao to the rescue, right, Truffle? Alright, chapter 55. I'm going to say 125.30. Shen Qiao showing up to save him is so satisfying, even if he doesn't deserve it. Agreed. Chapter 55. To repay evil with virtue. Shen Qiao nodded at the two of them. Have you both been well? After his initial surprise, Guang Ling-san composed himself and scrutinized Shen Qiao carefully. I heard that Taoist Master Shen fought with Sang Jing-sing and injured him gravely. I didn't expect you to recover so quickly. What wonderful news. No one else had been present at their fight, and having been seriously wounded by Shen Qiao, of course Sang Jing-sing wouldn't have gone around announcing what had happened. But Guang Ling-san was a member of the demonic sect, so naturally he could obtain news others couldn't. Hearing this, Duan Yanshan was also secretly astonished, and he reevaluated Shen Qiao's strength. Shen Qiao shook his head. I can't say that I'm fully recovered. These words were completely true, but it was hard to believe him. Though martial arts placed heavy emphasis on arduous training, every sect and discipline had their own carefully guarded secrets. Furthermore, Shen Qiao was Qi Fenggui's disciple. Who knew if Qi Fenggui had passed down some sort of divine martial arts manual to him? Wang Ming-san smiled. When it comes to how sect leader Yan treated you, Taoist Master Shen, others might know little, but I do know some. I heard it was all thanks to sect leader Yan that your duel with Sang Jing-sing happened in the first place. That is correct, said Shen Qiao. He was cold and callous towards you, just like he was to everyone else. Yes. I'm sure you didn't cross such great distances just to retrieve his body. You must have come to rescue him. Unfortunately, you're a step too late. Shen Qiao answered each of his questions. Correct. Wang Ling-san finally showed a trace of surprise. Exactly what about Yan Wushi deserves you going this far? Is it really like the rumors say, that the two of you have another, more private relationship? I'm not acting out of personal feelings, Shen Qiao said coolly. I'm saving Yan Wushi for the greater good. Duo Yanshan began laughing, unable to hold back his expression of contemptuous amusement. This is the first time I've heard Yan Wushi's name in the same sentence as the words greater good. Are you saying that the moment Yan Wushi dies, the greater good will cease to exist? Yan Wushi isn't a good person, said Shen Qiao, but as he assists the Lord of Shou, he can be considered one of his supporters. Each of you might have killed him for your own reasons, but in the end, isn't that at the core of it all? His support for Yuan Yang's northern Shou conflicts with all of your interests, hence you must eliminate him. But I believe that the only one who can put an end to this chaos is Yuan Yang, and that is where we disagree. Duo Yanshan shook his head. Shen Qiao, you are one of the Han. Yet you support one of the Xian Bei? No wonder Xuandu Mountain judged you unsuitable for sect leader. Shen Qiao gave him a smile. I take it guild leader Duo has never found himself in a situation where countless others oppose your views. As long as I believe something's worth doing, why does it matter what others see or think? Anyone with true fondness for you, the friends and family who have your best interests at heart, will eventually understand where you're coming from. Since Yan Wushi is already dead, said Guangling-san, there's nothing for you to do here. How we wish to deal with his corpse shouldn't hinder you in any way, so why must you interfere? Shen Qiao frowned. Once someone dies, everything dies with them, just like a lamp flare being extinguished. No matter what, he was a grandmaster of his generation. As his acquaintance, I wish to retrieve his body for a proper burial. I hope that the two of you will grant me this. Guangling-san shook his head. We put all of our strength and effort into killing Yan Wushi, so naturally we wish to confirm that he's truly dead, with no chance of coming back. Let me cut off his head first. You can still take his body with you later. And if I say no, said Shen Qiao. Taoist Master Shen is indeed a handsome man, but unfortunately neither guild leader Duo nor I are interested in men, he said, a smile remaining on his face. I'm afraid we won't show you any tender feelings. With a toss of his hand, the zither in his arms flipped over, and he drew a long sword from it with his other hand. In a flash, the blade's point was already before Shen Qiao's face. Shen Qiao drifted back and drew Shanhe Tong Bei. Two streams of sword chi clashed in an unavoidable confrontation. At once, a white ray pierced the sun, like the herald for a great omen. Sharp enough to slice right through metal and as harsh as snow and frost. It was only the beginning of autumn, yet Duo Yanshan suddenly felt the slam of cutting wind and freezing rain against his face, and he shivered internally, taking an unconscious step back. He realized quickly how shameful his actions were, but soon he felt another burst of intense alarm. When this former sect leader of Xuandu Mountain became your opponent, he wouldn't be the weak pushover kind of opponent. In fact, it wasn't only Duo Yanshan who was shocked. Within Guangling-san's heart, too, a tempestuous storm had long begun brewing. He'd met Shen Qiao only a few times, strictly speaking, only twice. The first time was when Shen Qiao had exhausted his strength in repelling Bai Rong, so he'd been completely powerless by the time Guangling-san had appeared. Furthermore, he'd been blind, so it was obvious how severe his injuries were. On the brink of being irreparable. But now he saw him again. Though Shen Qiao still looked feeble as before, the moment he drew his sword, his entire person transformed like a sickly tree that had suddenly begun glowing with new splendor, its withered branches returning to life. It was oppressively dazzling, brilliant, and magnificent. No, at this moment, Shen Qiao himself was a sharp sword. The sword intent undulated like shimmering ripples. It appeared soft, but it was endless and everywhere, omnipresent. Not only did it shatter Guangling-san's sword glare, it weaved itself into a dense net, enveloping both Guangling-san and Shen Qiao within. If you can conquer the hardest of all things in the world with the softest, then nothing in the world will be your match. Man and sword finally became one and the same. Never again would any flaws be found. Was this the true power of Xuandu Mountain's sect leader, of Qifeng Wei's disciple? Oh, I always remember how shocked I was at the sword in the kin reveal. Yeah, I feel like it would affect the sound quality, honestly. Like, I know it's a magical, mythical weapon instrument, but, like, still, like, that's gotta affect the reverb somewhere. Guangling-san didn't often wield the sword. He was used to his zither, but his skills with the sword were still effortlessly superior to most. However, at this moment, faced with Shen Qiao's airtight defenses and offense, a sense of helplessness suddenly welled up within him. He didn't even know where to begin striking. He was willing to make a bet. Forget about him. Even if a true swordmaster were here, they would feel exactly the same as he did. Guangling-san decisively abandoned his sword for his zither. Taking advantage of the brief time he'd bought by retreating from the sword net, he crooked his fingers and grabbed behind his back. In the blink of an eye, the zither he'd been carrying on his back appeared within his hand. Its clanging notes surged towards Shen Qiao with the force of a thundering storm. Good point. Can't believe that didn't come up in the novel. Like, it's one of those where it's like, if it was hollow, that would affect the sound, but if it's not hollow, where's the sword? Like, if it's hidden. It's just the logistics thing. Still cool, probably because of magic is the answer, but like... Duo Yanshan seemed to have noticed his impatience, for he no longer stood on the sidelines watching. Instead, he leapt into the air and aimed a strike at Shen Qiao. Shen Qiao wasn't Yan Wushi, after all. There was no need to tirelessly strive for his death. Duo Yanshan's palm strike was only intended to overwhelm Shen Qiao, to fluster and confuse him, and in doing so, force a loss. But to his surprise, he found that when the harsh blast from his palm came within 3 feet of Shen Qiao, it was completely swallowed by his sword glare. It was like tossing a pebble into the ocean. When compared to the waves that already raged, the ripples from the pebble were smaller than small, practically negligible. Instead, it was the sword glare that surged, expanding until it was about to reach Duo Yanshan's nose. Both his and Guang Lingsan's martial arts were good enough to rank within the top 10. Even without using their full strength, the two of them working together was already more than enough to murder any regular man. However, Shen Qiao had been contending with them for a while, yet showing no signs of falling behind. It was clear just how terrifying and unfathomable his strength was. With his reappearance in the Jianghu this time, he was truly someone you could not afford to offend. If they continued the fight, a grudge was sure to form. Liu He Guild's business enterprises encompassed the entire land. They believed that amiability was the key to prosperity. Duo Yanshan had participated in the ambush on Yan Wushi this time because there were others spearheading the assault, and all he had to do was follow their lead. But Shen Qiao was different. Since there was no need to kill him, a martial expert like him could naturally give the Liu He Guild countless headaches in the future. Duo Yanshan weighed the pros and cons, then decisively chose to give up. Yan Wushi was almost certainly dead, and even Buddhist master Shu Ting and Duan Wenyang had left. Don Yanshan was only participated to exact revenge on Yan Wushi for destroying the Shuyang strategy scroll, so giving his all here would mean heavy losses with little gain. Having deliberated all this, he gave a bright laugh, then resolutely retreated. Ha! Fighting 2-on-1 is a bit dishonest of us, so I won't interfere with sect leader Guang's entertainment any longer. I'll be taking my leave first. We'll meet some other day. Guang Lingsan had no right to denigrate Duo Yanshan's dishonesty. The 5 of them didn't have much of a relationship in the first place, and on top of that, they each held their own positions and interests. They could only gather together because of their shared goal of killing Yan Wushi. Now that Yan Wushi was dead and their goal achieved, their temporary cooperation had also come to an end. But since everyone else had already gone, why was he still here, fighting so desperately against Shen Qiao when it was so strenuous and thankless? Guang Lingsan glanced to the side. I don't know what happened there. Yan Wushi was still lying there, bleeding from all the apertures on his face, unconscious and insensate. There was probably less chance of him surviving than of Qi Fengwei coming back to life. Thinking of this, he too lost all interest in continuing with Shen Qiao. The zither's melody suddenly rose to a pitch. Shen Qiao's senses weren't blocked, and the momentum of his sword couldn't help but slow just a little. Guang Lingsan used this opportunity to extricate himself, sending a palm strike at Shen Qiao before swiftly gliding away. Taoist Master Shen is benevolent and kind. Yan Wushi may have had countless enemies, but having you as a friend is surely enough to let him rest in peace. What harm is there in assisting you in accomplishing your good deeds, your kind deeds? Soon as he heard these words, Shen Qiao also withdrew his sword and stepped back. My deep thanks to sect leader Guang. Guang Ling-san smiled and nodded at him, then turned and retreated. After today's battle, news of Yan Wushi's death would soon spread throughout the Jianghu. Having lost their backbone, Huan Yue sect would be unable to hold on for long with only Bian Yanmei and Yu Shang Yan, and the balance of power between the three demonic sects would certainly change as well. Fajing sect could take this chance to return to the Central Plains. There were still many things he had to do. Shen Qiao remained standing in place, watching Guang Ling-san walk into the distance. Only then did he release a long sigh. Holding his chest, he forced the salty sweetness that had surged up into his throat back down. No matter how incredible the Shuyang strategy's true chi was, Shen Qiao hadn't been practicing it for long. It was already unbelievably fortunate that he'd been able to recover more than half his formal martial prowess. Then he tried to fight 1 against 2, and both his opponents were martial experts who ranked within the top 10. He'd already pushed his spent strength to the limit. A little more, and he'd have given it away to Guang Ling-san. Luckily, neither Guang Ling-san nor Duo Yan Sheng, had any interest in continuing the fight, and Shen Qiao's preemptive attack had dominated them so much that they'd believed his strength unfathomable. Shen Qiao gave a bitter smile. After circulating his true chi for a long moment, his situation finally, slowly stabilized. He walked over to Yan Wushi and bent at the waist, reaching for his wrist. His hand was cold and lifeless to the touch, without even the whisper of a pulse. The pain and dismay he had felt at Yan Wushi tossing him to Song Jingsing was still vivid in his mind. Carrying the blood debts of the abbot and Chu Yi's lives, Shen Qiao had used all his strength to crawl inch by inch out of the netherworld. Trapped in a field of death, he fought his way to survival like a phoenix passing into nirvana. When he'd heard of the great danger this man was in, he'd finally come to the decision to discard all personal feelings between them and rushed here to his rescue. Yet in the end, he'd still been a step too late. Shen Qiao gave a sigh and whispered, "Very well. Take care of yourself on your way to the netherworld." No sooner had the words left his lips when the wrist he'd been loosely holding suddenly shifted, the movement almost imperceptible. Shen Qiao froze for a moment. Before he realized what was going on, something grabbed his wrist. Ooh! I could be mean and stop right there, but we have one more chapter left. Chapter 56. Rescue. The movement was too sudden. Even Shen Qiao was thoroughly stunned. Since even Guang Ling-san had been so assumed as to stroll off, it was obvious that Yan Wushi's chances of survival had been slim to none. In truth, he shouldn't still be alive at all. Shen Qiao was already prepared to bury him and erect a grave marker. He'd never expected something like this. Thank you for not leaving you hanging this time. All good, Truffle. No promises that this chapter won't leave you hanging. Hang on, let me see. You're thanking me a little too early, but we're doing this. We're actually doing the next stream tomorrow, at 7. Instead, unless people want it at 8, which I can also do, but I thought I'd move it a little early since I had time. But since Thursday's Thanksgiving, I moved the next stream to tomorrow. Which it's a good thing You kind of reminded, because otherwise it'd be a little confusing. 7 is fine? Okay. It's set for 7, but I can always change it. Okay. We'll do it at 7 then. There was little force in Yan Wushi's grip, and it was as if he'd exhausted all his strength with that one action. As soon as his hand landed in Shen Qiao's, he'd let go and made no further movements. His eyes were still tightly closed, a lifeless gray pallor cast over his pale face. Blood still trickled from his body. Shen Qiao had never seen such a wretched state before. It was as if that motion just now was only his final struggle against the clutches of death. Shen Qiao felt for Yan Wushi's heart. Just as he expected, the entire expanse beneath his palm was as cold as ice, without a shred of warmth. Shen Qiao attempted to pass a wisp of true qi into his body, but it immediately vanished into nothingness, as if he'd cast a clod of mud into the sea. He untied Yan Wushi's hair and ran his fingers through the strands. Very quickly, he arrived at the area round the Bai Huai acupoint, and there he found an obvious crack. An ordinary person would have certainly perished from an injury like this, but one could not argue that Yan Wushi was ordinary after all. He'd fought 1 against 5, and his opponents were 5 of the greatest martial artists in the world. There was even Buddhist master Shu Ting, yet Yan Wushi had been able to hold his own even with a grandmaster like that among them. Though Shen Qiao had arrived a step too late to personally witness that fierce battle himself, he could imagine how marvelously incomparable it must have been. The crack wasn't long, but it was very deep. The attacker must have used all their strength. He pondered that blow. Even though it was Yan Wushi, even if it hadn't ruptured his brain itself, it must have shattered his skull, leaving him no chance of survival. Shen Qiao wasn't a doctor. He was completely helpless when faced with such a severe injury. He could only release Yan Wushi's hand, then begin prodding the meridians of his body while carefully supporting the back of his neck. His bones weren't broken, and his meridians were intact. The fatal injury had been caused by the sword piercing through his chest, together with those palm strikes that had gravely damaged his internal organs. Finally, there was the wound on his head, the straw that broke the camel's back. The more Shen Qiao examined him, the lower his heart sank. Was there really no way to save him? Then, suddenly, he gave a sound of surprise. A sound so faint, only he could hear it. But it was a sound that betrayed just how surprised Shen Qiao was inside. For he had discovered that within Yan Wushi's denshin, which should have long gone cold and been shattered, there was a tiny, almost imperceptible wisp of qi still quietly circulating there. He thought for a moment, then decided to simply pull Yan Wushi's arm up, tug the man right onto his back, and head forward, step by step. To Shen Qiao, the royal capital of Yuhun was an unfamiliar location. Wind carrying sand was said to blow here all year round, while the Gobi Desert stretched in all directions. The only city of any scale within dozens of miles of this area was the oasis where the royal capital was located. However, as one had to pass through here on the way to various nations of the western region like Kuochi and Khotan, it was impossible for the population to be entirely concentrated within the royal capital. Upon leaving the capital and heading west, if they looked down and into the distance, they'd find thinly scattered villages and houses everywhere. The Gobi Desert was boundless, and even caravans to shelter from the sandstorms were rare. Caverns to shelter from the sandstorms were rare. Not to mention that Shen Qiao was carrying what was basically a living corpse. Even resolving the issue of food and water was a massive problem. It was impossible to just search for a concealed cavern to hide in, like in the Central Plains. No matter how much he didn't want to be found, he had no choice but to first find a place where people lived, yet which was far removed from the Jianghu, and stay there. Shen Qiao squinted for a long moment beneath the blinding sunlight and finally chose a location in the distance. He headed in that direction, carrying Yan Wushi. The royal capital of Tu-Yun-Hu, being populated with all sorts of people, was absolutely not somewhere they could remain. His only nearby options lay in the small scattered villages around it. Shen Qiao brought Yan Wushi to a village next to Zaling Lake. Several dozen households were established there, and a main road used often by traveling merchants lay nearby. The occasional traveler would come and stay. Hence, it wasn't too bustling, but it also wasn't too remote. At least, not so much that they'd be hostile to an outsider like Shen Qiao. Shen Qiao chose this location primarily out of consideration for Yan Wushi's current state. If he still had a chance of survival and Shen Qiao managed to save him, then for the time being such news could not be leaked. Yan Wushi had enemies everywhere. If someone like Guang Ling-san knew that Yan Wushi had survived, he'd definitely rush over to kill them both. Even Qi Fengwei wouldn't be able to fend off that many martial experts by himself, let alone Shen Qiao, who'd only recovered a little more than half of his martial arts. As night crept close, the village houses all lit lamps one after another, and Shen Qiao, carrying Yan Wushi, knocked on the door of one such house. A young lady answered it. She wore a red dress and a long braid draped over her shoulder. As was common for locals, long years beneath the sun had tanned her skin a soft bronze, but her features were neither rough nor ugly. She must have been prone to smiling, for whenever the corners of her lips pulled up, 2 dimples would appear on her cheeks. It was quite adorable. Shen Qiao told her of his reason for knocking. His friend was injured, so he wished to stay here for a while to let him recuperate, and once he was better, they'd leave. They absolutely wouldn't give the host any trouble. Though currency from the Central Plain was also accepted here, on the outskirts, people were more accustomed to bartering. So Shen Qiao took out a large chunk of salt and a small, delicately wrought flower of gold. Within the Central Plains, an ornament like this could be purchased at any jewelry shop, but it was a rare sight here. Xiao Shi Ying had gotten the disciples at her sect to prepare it for Shen Qiao before he'd left, and unexpectedly, it really did come in handy. It was obvious... Oof. Sorry about that. It was obvious the girl was used to merchants asking for lodging, but she hadn't expected the door knocker this time to be such a handsome man. As she listened to him speak, his expression pleasant and smiling, her face grew a little hot and her gaze was captured by the golden flower. But she still didn't agree right away. Using a mix of her local Qiang language and some awkward Mandarin, along with a few hand gestures, she told Shen Qiao that she lived together with her grandfather, so she had to ask him first. Shen Qiao expressed his understanding and waited outside with Yan Wushi on his back. He'd thought that he'd have to wait a long time, but not long after, the door opened again. An old man with silvery hair came out, with the girl following behind him. The old man was fluent in Mandarin. He asked Shen Qiao a couple of questions before opening the door to let them in. After a brief conversation, Shen Qiao learned that this old man had once lived in the Central Plains when he was young. While there, he'd saved some money, then built the largest house within the city. Unfortunately, his son and daughter-in-law had passed early, leaving him with only a granddaughter to live with. Shen Qiao had chosen this family because of their large courtyard and many rooms. This way, even if he needed to fast qi to heal Yan Wushi's injuries, they could avoid unnecessary attention from others. The old man had seen and learned much in his long life. He showed no surprise at the sight of a weapon carrier like Shen Qiao. Instead, it was the girl, Bana, who showed deep curiosity in Shen Qiao's Taoist clothing. She stood behind her grandfather, staring intently, but every time Shen Qiao looked over at her, she'd lower her head, a little bashful. She really sounds adorable. Like, she sounds so cute, and I highly doubt we'll get a picture, so just imagine it. After exchanging a few courteous words, the old man hesitantly said, "My old self often receives traveling merchants for a stay. And as a guest, you've come from afar, so of course we welcome you." Shen Qiao breaking hearts all over the place, right? "But this friend of yours seems to be injured quite badly. I fear his enemies must be terribly strong. My granddaughter and I are but ordinary people, and we've never done anything to invite trouble upon ourselves. Please, I ask that the Taoist master tell me the truth so that I can make my decision." "I'll be honest with you," said Shen Qiao. "This friend of mine has indeed invited quite a bit of trouble upon himself. Currently, all his enemies think him dead, but I wish to save him. Unfortunately, the Central Plains are too far away, so we won't be able to get back right away. Hence, we have no choice but to ask your esteemed self for hospitality. As long as no one knows he's here, my friend will be safe. If anything goes wrong, I'll leave with him immediately. We definitely won't bring you any trouble." Yeah. She does sound adorable. Sure hope nothing bad happens to her, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't foreshadowing. The old man continued to hesitate, but Bana tugged on the corner of his clothes. "Grandpa, this gentleman doesn't look like a bad man. They're in a bad spot. If we're able to help, we should help." When he saw his granddaughter speaking up for them, the old man sighed. "Very well. If that's the case, the two of you may stay here. We will also keep your identities secret from everyone else. I'll just tell them that you're traveling scholars from the Central Plains. I'll also ask that Taoist Master not make too many trips outside unless it's absolutely necessary. That way, there will be less trouble for us." Shen Qiao was deeply grateful. Ever since the tragedy that befell the abbot and Chuyi, he was completely adamant about not involving innocent people unless there was truly no other choice, so he naturally thanked the man profusely. He only intended to stay for a short while. Once the Coiling Dragon assembly was over and those martial artists left, he could take Yan Wushi back to Chang'an and hand him to Bian Yanmei. Bana was a little taken with Shen Qiao and wanted to speak to him more. When she saw him walking to the side yard carrying Yan Wushi, she took the initiative to help him open the door, but her finger accidentally brushed Yan Wushi's arm in the process. The chilling cold of his body startled her immediately, and she stumbled back a few steps, then pointed to him in shock. Shen Langjun, the person you're carrying, is he really alive?" Shen Qiao smiled wryly to himself, thinking that he also didn't know whether he was still alive. But he could only comfort her and say, "It's just a very serious injury, one which has caused him to stop breathing for the time being. He's not dead." Mana left, not quite convinced. The few times she saw Yan Wushi afterward, he always appeared well and truly dead. Even though his body didn't rot or stink like normal corpses, it was ice cold from head to toe, and there was no sign of life to be seen. The most terrifying thing was that once, when Shen Qiao wasn't paying attention, she placed her finger beneath his nose, yet she couldn't feel the slightest breath at all. She almost suspected that Shen Qiao was so grief-stricken by his friend's death that he refused to accept reality. But this served as an advantage to Shen Qiao. It meant that other than delivering him meals twice a day, she no longer paid their side yard any periodic visits. This saved Shen Qiao some trouble as, given his disposition, he really had no idea how to wave her off otherwise. With everything settled, Shen Qiao could give his full attention to examining Yan Wushi's situation. Day after day, little by little, the true qi in Yan Wushi's danshin seemed to grow. Truly seemed he had a chance. It was obvious that this was the Shuyang strategy's true qi working its magic within Yan Wushi's body, just like it done for Shen Qiao. But the difference was that Yan Wushi hadn't lost his martial arts, so he couldn't do as Shen Qiao had. Destroy everything and rebuild from scratch. His fatal injuries weren't the result of ruined foundations either. One could rebuild their foundations, but to repair one's skull after cracking it open? Now that was unheard of. If Yan Wushi remained like this, in the end, he'd still be unable to escape death. Shen Qiao thought, and he could only come up with one solution, which you will find out tomorrow! Oh! See, I told you, don't thank me just yet for a cliffhanger. Shockingly, no injustices to service workers this chapter. But yeah. Nice cliffhanger. This author just loves them. They really do. But I will see you all tomorrow at 7, not 8. So 1 hour earlier. And we will continue to read. So at least it's not a super like long cliffhanger for all of us. But yeah, lucky that pavilion wasn't staffed. And you're welcome for the stream. This was fun. All right. See you all later. And anyone who's watching later, thank you for watching. Good night.